If you're trying to figure out how to move your models from Blender to Substance, then this is the right video for you. This video is going to be going over a lot of details, and if you want a more concise viewing experience, there will be a short in the description that'll go over the same material but be a lot shorter and more condensed. I'm going to go ahead and get started. As you can see in our material preview, I've already got my UVs unwrapped properly on my low poly, and I can even go to the top left, drag, and then press UV editor. And in the UV editor, if I go into edit mode, I can see all my UVs laid out. Now that I've made sure that my UVs are doing all right, all I've got to do is zero out every single model. So as you can see, my low poly model is already at the center. It's all zeroed out, the location 0, 0. But my high poly model right here is not zeroed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag over the location values and then set them all to 0. This will zero out the model, which is really important for whenever you're exporting it, especially the high poly, so it bakes into the model correctly. If you don't have them set at the same location, it'll try baking it wherever you have the high poly model at, and it won't bake properly. So first I'm going to export my low poly by going up to File, Export, and here you can export as anything. OBJ is fine, FBX is what I typically use, and then GLB exports the textures as well, which is a lot more of a hefty file, so normally I would suggest doing FBX. Find a place you want to save it to. Don't save it as your file name, save it as the model name. So here I'm going to do Sword Low Poly. And there's a few settings you're going to want to mess with. So first, only limit to selected objects, so it only exports your low poly model. And then here you can turn off stuff like baked animation. If there's no animation, you can mess with all your transform settings and such. But then once you've got all that set up, just press Export FBX and then do the exact same thing with the high poly, but with a different name. It'll try exporting it as the same name as the low poly one, but all you've got to do is change a letter around the high poly. Once you've got both of your models exported, you can go ahead and go over to Substance Painter. Now, once you're actually inside of Substance Painter, it's really simple to get your model inside. You're just going to go to File, New, and then where it says File Select, you just choose your low poly model. Make sure it's not your high poly because the high poly will be used for baking. A few settings to take note here. Document resolution will set what your texture size will be. The normal map format is normally fine as DirectX, but you can change it to OpenGL as well. If you did not unwrap your file, what you can do is turn on auto unwrap, and it won't unwrap as good as it would manually if you manually made it, but it can work in certain situations, especially organic materials. Once you've got all your settings set up, just press OK. And now your model's in Substance Painter. But one thing before we're done, you can't really texture properly without baking your maps. So what you're going to want to do is go over to the right where it says Texture Set Settings, go down until it says Mesh Maps, and then Bake Mesh Maps. Now all of these settings you can mess around with, the position, curvature, ambient occlusion, normal, etc. But the most important thing to do is to change the output size here. First of all, we can up it to 4K. And then go to High Definition Meshes, click on this little File button, and then click your high poly model. As you can see, there's a wrap around it now. What you're going to want to do is try and get it as close to low poly as possible while still keeping it blue and no red. If you see red like here, that's bad and it won't bake properly. But once you get it around where you want it, where there's almost no red showing, but it's not protruding too much, then you can press Bake Selected Textures down here. And as you can see, the baking process will begin. And now that that's over, we can see that our high poly was baked into the low poly, so all the details and the bevels are all there. And now you can put whatever texture you'd like on it. So I'm just going to go into Smart Materials and then Copper. As you can see, it's now textured. I'll go into Substance Paint in more detail in another video where I'll talk about how to texture, put mask, opacity, all that stuff. But if you want to export it and bring it back into Blender, all you have to do is press File, Export Texture, change the output directory to where you'd like to export it, and then change the output template to whatever you'd like to set it to. Normally, I just use the Unreal Engine pack template, which is pretty standard. There are other settings you can mess with, such as the texture size or the dilation, which isn't as important, but can be important sometimes, but I'll talk about that in another video. And then all you're going to want to do is click down here and press Export. When your textures are done exporting, you can go ahead and create a new window in Blender, and then go down to Shader Editor. And on your model, just create a new texture, assign it to the model, and then whenever you come over here to the shader editor, click on the principled BSDF. And if you have Node Wrangler installed, all you have to do is press Control-Shift-T and then find your textures, and it'll automatically input them to the correct outputs. As you can see, I've got the model inside Blender now, and that's it. If it looks a little weird whenever you export it, it could be because of what you're rendering it on. Right now, I have it in material preview, so I'm not seeing all the details, and that's it. If it looks a little funky, you might want to try going into an actual rendered preview of it, because some materials don't work the same as they do in rendered mode if you're in material mode. That is all you really need to know to put your model into Substance and bring the textures back into Blender. So that's it. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get back into stuff. I'm not very good at this, but I'm trying my best to get used to it. It's been so long since I made videos, so I haven't really been keeping up with my socialization skills the best. But I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial whenever I teach you how to use Substance or do whatever. So, bye.